Hello there, Seraphim17 once again. This is my Bayonetta 2 Infinite Climax video walkthrough. This is Chapter 8, An Ancient Civilization. We're making our way into the Gates of Hell. The Gates of Hell is a sealed away crazy portal that's in an inverted triangle, or pyramid, or what the hell is that thing? I can't quite see how many sides it has because it's kind of an optical illusion at the moment. It looks like an upside down pyramid. But we're now moving with Loki. Loki's an interesting one. I thought you'd get to play as him. You only get to play as him once, and it's one of the shitty sections of the game because his dodge is weird and sometimes you die instantly, which is fun, but never mind. I thought you'd be able to do combat with him, and you can't, I don't think. But here is a new infernal demon. This guy is called Greed. And did you see that attack he did at the beginning? He has a dashing grab, which is the fastest and one of the toughest things to dodge in this game. Like, I am more than familiar with Fairness and... what was the other guy called? There's two of them, I forgot the names, I do apologise. The Fire and the Electric Dog from Bayonetta 1. Those guys were fast when they wanted to be. This thing is faster, and it's incredibly dangerous too. But we're fighting it here with a couple of the heinous demons. You should also see something quite nostalgic what's happening right now as well. I am using Sharaba. I'm also using Scarborough Fair, which are two weapons from Bayonetta 1. I have no idea how I unlocked them. I think it's because I bought the Bayonetta 1 costume. Or maybe it's because I beat the game, I'm not sure, but suffice to say, it's in my inventory, and when I was alternating weapons I decided to change to give you, a different set of weapons for this chapter. So once again, we have pistols on the feet, and we have the sword in the hand, and this weapon feels so good. The only problem with it is I don't have my Kilgore to complete the, my most comfortable setup on Bayonetta 1, but it's still pretty great. I would have nothing against every single weapon from Bayonetta 1 coming back, because they were all golden, and this is a game where the combat itself is just so much fun. You can repeat it and repeat it and repeat it, and giving a player more weapons is just more opportunities to repeat the same thing and never get bored because it's just too interesting. And as much as I've mentioned that the enemies take a big beating, the good side to that is that they enable you to do crazier, weirder mix-ups when you find out exactly how to do them, and right now we're in the transition of learning them. That was a parry just then, you see him parry me. You'll also notice I've got the demon arms from the heinous. This is a hatred. You can tell he's got a scythe. Very dangerous enemy too, this one. But this weapon, this enemy arm, it just does fuck all. Like, every time I use them, they feel pitiful, and it's so sad. Because they were one of my favourite parts of the first game. They were these ultimate FU weapons that just worked. Like, and I love me some fuck you weapons, I do. That's one of the things I really liked about them, and these ones on this game, they're not the same. And you even get some of the old ones, because there's a sequence later on in the game, spoiler alert, where we go to Vigrid again, and we fight angels from the first game, which is this awesome nostalgic moment. And Bayonetta 2 does two things, which I think is appalling. It changes how they behave, so they have new attacks, which... I think I'm just being an old man with that one because I'm so used to how they work. When they did something new, it was like, hang on a second here, you just cheated. This is bullshit. But at the same time, it's kind of cool because then I can learn something new. But the second thing, which is disgusting, is the stripper pole animation stops working halfway through the animation and the enemies get iframes. It's utter bullshit. The most stupid, amazing moment in Bayonetta 1 has been ported into this game and they ruined it for balance reasons, which I disagree with just passionately. But this is the Golem. You'll remember the Golems from the first game. This one is very different, but intrinsically the same. It is a construct that is neither infernal, a demon, or an angel. It is, however, a very dangerous weapon that can shift shapes. In its first form, it dashes towards you, it spikes the ground. It's very easy to counter the first form. The second form here is this laser sword/laser poke. Very easy to dodge as well once you know how fast it is and you understand the animations. That being said, it's easy to mess up as well because it's very quick. When you hit it enough, you'll stun it, and then you can use your Umbran Climax like I'm doing. I don't know why I did standard attacks. The Tetsuzanko would have killed it quicker, but as I've mentioned, I'm trying not to do that. But this first Golem is very fun, it's very fair, and it's an interesting encounter. The second Golem has a form where it turns into kind of this really quick turtle, and that's when it kind of gets a little bit bullshitty, because it has moves that are so fast, my reflexes just couldn't keep up with them at first. Like, there almost seems to be no wind-up on its dash attack, and the only time it does a wind-up is if it dashes to the side and then attacks. If it just does the attack, it must literally be like 7 frames of wind-up or something stupid. Like, there's no human alive who's not seen that move very often and is not used to it who could just dodge it, because it's one of those things where before you know what's happening, you've been hit, and it does insane amounts of damage too. The good news is this is quite a long level, so I can talk shop a little more. I do really like this costume, I think it's nice. I wish there was better costumes in the game, and maybe less stereotypically silly ones. Don't get me wrong, I think all the Easter egg costumes are fantastic, and I think they're awesome that they went as far as to change sound effects and change assets in the game. But all the ones that Bayonetta gets are kind of just scantily clad / stereotypically fetish-esque outfits, and as much as it's tongue-in-cheek and it's sexualised and it's Bayonetta's ethos, I just don't think it's very interesting to look at from a cool perspective. Like, a good example would be Razor's Edge, Ninja Gaiden 3. That game had a costume for Ryu, which was the reason I bought the game, and it turns out it was only like pre-order costume in America, so I couldn't even get it. So the one thing that would have made me play that game a lot, I didn't even have, and I quickly got bored of it because it turns out they didn't really fix much, and I think that game is while functional, is a shadow of Ninja Gaiden 1 and 2, and should be treated as such because it's not even on the same level. But that costume is amazing, and if you're wondering which one it is, it's the shirtless one with kind of like the red and everything. I think it looks just amazing. There's no other word for it. It looks brilliant. Bayonetta doesn't really have costumes that I feel that way about. She has the geisha, she has the police officer, the schoolgirl. Like, they're all kind of shit. There's a silver one which makes her look a little bit like a T-1000. And then there's the dresses, which they all kind of look ridiculous. But I like this one because of the hat. It makes me think of the Ronin-esque, straw hat. So every so often I feel like an absolute badass, and then I realise I'm wearing a floor-length white dress. Which, nothing wrong with that, just kind of strange. It does have that crazy mink scarf though, so I'm totally balling it with the scarf. But that fight just then is very difficult because there's 2 allegiances at the same time. They're such a difficult enemy. And I might be calling them by the wrong name, and I really don't care because they're an enemy that I hate at the moment. I hate them so much. They seem to have no downside. They parry everything, they do massive damage, they have both massive reach, massive damage, and insanely quick attacks. Like, there is no downside to being that angel. It's OP, super OP, and I'm looking forward to finding a guaranteed way to shit on its chest because it's in dire need of defecation. But now that we've fixed the crazy flight pad, we're going to do a bit of a Panzer Dragoon-esque flying section. If anybody played Dead Space 3, you'll remember these moments, only in Dead Space 3 they were utter shit and unnecessary, and in Bayonetta they're very short, sweet, and kind of fun. They could have probably turned this into something a little bit more than it is, but I think that goes to show the discipline of this sequel. One of the criticisms of Bayonetta 1 is certain sections outlived their fun. The driving section, the Route 666, was great, but after a while it was the same thing over and over, and it lasted about 15 minutes longer than it should have. Isla del Sol is probably the worst level in that entire game, because if you don't like afterburner-esque shooters, it's not going to be much fun to you, and it overstays its welcome. This game, every single one of those sections is just brief enough, just has that right amount of brevity to it, that you want to play it again, because it was really fun and it went past so quickly, you didn't really notice what the hell you were doing. And it's a very nice eye for finesseful game design that not a lot of devs have, and I resent people calling me a Platinum fanboy. I am a fan of good things, and Platinum to me makes some of the best things available on the market at this moment in time. If I were to have a promotional relationship with Platinum, I would tell you guys, and I would love one. Would it make me biased? Hell no. If they told me that I couldn't make a video about content without saying something, you know, exclusively positive and promotional, then I probably wouldn't make that video, and I would probably tell you that that's exactly what they told me. Because as much as I respect the company and I like their games, I'm not the biggest fan of being told what to do. I'm not really polemic, I'm not much of a contrarianism as much as I like to play as devil advocate. I have too much respect for my channel to tell you to buy something I don't believe in. If you don't understand how I can be that way, or if I'm, you know, really stand behind such decisions, go watch my Resident Evil 6 guide. See if I tell you to buy that game. But I just talked through a fight with a Sloth, which was silly, because he is the hardest enemy outside of the allegiances. This dude here is legitimately challenging, but awesome. And that's the distinction. I do not like the gold knighted horseman. I think he's a cheesy bastard, and I can't wait to learn him better. This guy is fair. He is insanely fast, super combo orientated, and massively damaging. But everything he does has logic to it, and it doesn't feel like I'm being cheated. He is my favourite enemy on the game, and we're going to fight him here now. So this is not a good representation of how to fight this enemy. The best way I've found in my short time with the game is distance. Keep your distance from him and he'll do moves that give you more time to dodge, and then you can punish him with that whatever weapon you want to use. If you're going to get close, you're going to have to test your reflexes, because I can almost guarantee this dude's going to be faster than you are until you learn exactly what he does, when he does it, and how to dodge it. So a good strategy is to do some damage, build up your magic, and then hit him with a torture attack. It might not kill him, but it'll definitely put him on the way to the grave. And look how fast the dude is. He's so cool too. If you've not realised, he's pulling swords out of his back. He has 6 swords impaled in his body. It makes no sense logically because they're not coming out the other side, and he's very skinny. He's pretty much on an Africa diet, but he's pulling them out of his back and he's doing all those crazy moves. And depending on how you hurt him, I think it depends on what swords he has, because sometimes he's only using them with his feet instead of his hands. So there's this whole like evolutionary process of fighting him where you can either break his swords or damage his limbs, and it all happens so fast I'm not too sure which one it is, but what it is bloody awesome. Probably sounded Australian then, even though I didn't have the accent. But this courtyard seems kind of popular with urbanes, so here's another 2 of them. This enemy is not so difficult to fight, because if you can get him doing the hooks, you can chain the hooks. My problem with him is he's got too much life. It's literally that simple. If the Beloveds on Bayonetta 1 had this much life, you would get millions of halos for killing them, because they're so easy to keep your combo going. And I suppose I haven't talked about combo yet, have I? And I probably should. The combo on this game is different to Bayonetta 1, and it's different in ways that I find quite confusing. Not only does it aesthetically look different, but it seems to... the stuff you get rewarded for is different to the things that rewarded you in the previous game. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, it just feels like sometimes you get to the maximum modifier insanely quickly, and other times it feels like it takes forever. And I believe this stems from not understanding which moves are the best to build style with. That's something that comes with time, and the game hasn't been out long enough to have that yet. So I think my issues with the style points at the moment is just a fundamental lack of understanding. It's an innocence and an ignorance that I'm hoping more play will fix. It might not, maybe I'll just suck at this game and never get good at Bayonetta 2, I don't know. But we'll definitely find out. Something worth noting here too as well, which really surprised me. Do you see the blue life bar beneath his life? That's Loki's HP. Loki almost dies in one of these fights, and I didn't even know he could. And I don't know how I feel about that. I think it's interesting, because I can't do anything about him. Of course I can use Umbra and Climax, but I've already explained earlier on that me and Umbra and Climax aren't getting on at the moment. Aside from its awesomeness, I think it negatively affects the gameplay, and I think sometimes it's just unnecessary. And I'm not sure because I've not played enough, whether or not it truly is mandatory to playing. Hopefully over time we'll see, look at his life! Loki's nearly dead. All because of this dude has got a ton of life. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see a mode where it was turned off. Maybe that's what Rose is like, I'm not too sure. And I think I'm probably going to start using the Ruin Earrings, because then I can use Umbran Climax, but it's a different way of using it. I'll turn into the robot instead of the crazy wicked weaves. I don't know. It's still too early to tell. I just think when they were advertising this game, they were promoting it like this grand new feature, and when you were watching it, you were like, whoa, this looks amazing, and it does look amazing, but I think it's ultimately shallow, and that's not really something I want to say about a game such as this, because these games are inherently the opposite of that. They couldn't be more the other way. Yet, who knows, maybe it's the way I'm using it, maybe I don't know how to use it correctly, and there are some really interesting ways to do so. But as it stands, Umbran Climax, the reason they were advertising it is because it really does seem like the game is designed for its use, and the game is balanced for its use, and the ranking system is heavily impacted by it, so much so that you have to be much quicker than you think you would need to be, and it seems to just favour, you know, the insane combos that it allows you to build. But enough on that, because I've already talked it quite a lot so far. Here's a couple of underwater fidelities. I'm using the weapon off the Urbane to freeze them. Sometimes it's effective, sometimes it's not. I think some of the water combat is some of the toughest in the game, just because of the difference in movement. There's also a lot of these enemies too, and I don't have a lot of life. The good thing about this game though, when you're playing it, if you're not bothered about rank at the end, which, to be honest, on this recording I didn't care, but I was still treating it as if it was a rank run, so whenever I would die, instead of continuing, I would quit. I would continue and then I would quit to title. If you quit to title and you continue, it negates your death and you continue from your checkpoint. And the reason I chose to do this instead of the quicker method of restarting is because not only will you get more coins in the end by getting ultimately better rankings, like if you die more than twice you're going to get a stone, there's nothing you can do. The ranking system on this game is incredibly cruel. It's always been that way. It punishes death more than it punishes anything else. The only thing even remotely close is item use, and this game encourages players to use items and then punishes them mercilessly in the ranking system, so it's like you've got to have... It's not really clear on what it wants you to be in the game sometimes, and if you've played Bayonetta before, you'll probably have an understanding that the overall mentality is you use items until you get good enough to not need them, and some people never will. Some people will do so quite effectively and quite quickly, and the type of player you are is entirely indicative of the time you put in and your natural aptitude to playing. But a lot of people don't look at it that way because games have taught us to look at items as something that should be used. You know, imagine playing a Resident Evil without using items. The only thing that would ever put that in your mind is the ranks, which brings us back to this, and it's this ranking game versus normal game mentality of, do ranking systems ruin games, or do they make them better? And it's this interesting juxtaposition of, I think, on a basic level, rank adds replayability, because it constantly makes the player strive to be better, to improve, and it gives you a goal to attain, which is that, what you've just seen, pure platinum. Sometimes it's easy to get, sometimes it's very difficult to get. And it gives you a goal, it gives people who want to do those crazy challenges a goal as well. Oh, this is the Umbran Climax Tetsuzanko spam. Watch the life bars. Did you see that? 3 Tetsuzankos, 4 Tetsuzankos, and they have 10% life left. And these are pretty damaging, pretty high life enemies too, because it's 3 of the is it malenchantments, I think they're called? If that's not overpowered, I don't know what is, but the good news is watch this combo meter on the ranking. I get a stone for combo, so Platinum's obviously aware how powerful that move is, and it doesn't reward you with style points. I tell a lie, give me a silver, maybe it does. But that technique you just witnessed will clear pretty much every single fight on this game in seconds. It's just... That was when I discovered it, by the way. I'd never thought to do it. And I just thought, oh, what if I tried Tetsuzanko? And when I tried it, I noticed I didn't lose magic meter. And then I tried it again, and I didn't lose magic meter. And then I suddenly realised what I had done. I had created a monster, and I had to live with the repercussions. But it's a choice, guys. You don't have to use it if you don't want to. If you want a super win button, you've just found it.